Wasn't really going to put one together today, but after a reaction from people around here, not online, to my last couple of major releases, red carpet for the use of, it was suggested I do something more in a common vein. Okay, so I'm doing it. You might be very bored. Well, we'll give it a try and see what happens. I get asked quite a bit if I ever saw weird stuff at sea. And the answer is really a big no, even after 40 years. But there's one instance we just can't explain. We'll get there. We will find a logical explanation as to why a World War II fleet destroyer turned up and zotted past us 15 years ago, whatever it was, I don't know. Apart from that, a couple of other things. Now, these are stories about that good friend of mine that I often talk about. Nice chap, you'd like him. Well, I would hope you would like him, because I like him sometimes. They were steaming south, and they were off Sumatra actually, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was in bed, and there was a huge thump on the hull, and all the alarm bells went off. Well, when I say all the alarm bells, this is the cosy we're talking about. The alarm bell went off. It sounded more like a strangled turkey, but we knew that it was the alarm bell. By the time our friend got to the bridge, they were ready to inform them that we had hit something rather large in the water, which was pretty obvious, and that water was coming in via the starboard side bow. That's the sharp end up there. I always get that wrong. He brought the ship to a halt till we could see what was going on, and it was one of those bloody containers off one of these monstrous great container ships. They're always dropping containers into the water. They're just putting too much on them. If I was the skipper, I wouldn't be, because I would refuse to take it to sea. Plus, some of these buggers only have one main drive system and one screw, and I would never put to sea in a large ship with only one screw. Twin screw vessels linked to 2 engines, you had trouble and you keep going on the other one. But these things, they might be massive, they might be new, they might be state of the art, but it's one screw, one main drive system. No. So anyway, crew for it went down below deck. There was no danger to the ship. It was a bit of a rough night. The container had been sitting just under the water level, but of course with the peaks and the troughs, bits of it stick out, and that's what we clobbered. Well, he clobbered, and the upshot was acro shoring was put in place to keep any bulkheads from moving if it got too much water in it. Splinter boxes were used on the hull, 2 of them, and then backed up with a push-me-pull you. And the water stopped coming in, what was in was pumped out, and the ship steamed at a reduced speed and got where it was going. No great hassle, but I wanted to point out what the dangers of these containers are. Several ships have been sunk by them, mainly because they were unlucky enough to run into a swarm of these damn things in the water. Mainly at night, radar can't pick them up because they look like sea clutter. You get clobbered with 4 or 5 of these things, from the bow down to the side, off the flare, and deep, some of them. They actually almost come up and pierce you from the underside. And there's not a lot you can do. You can close all the watertight doors you like, but if there's more than 3 compartments that have ingress of water, as they say, you can forget it. You might keep her afloat for a while, but she's going to go. Anyway, this was a more happy story. The second one was only about a month later, and he was in a different spot altogether. They were round the other side, heading up the Straits of Malacca into the southern Indian Ocean. They had a client up there, shall we say. We won't go into it too deeply. Now, there was nothing on the radio about any disasters or ships missing, but one of the crew picked up the fact that there was debris in the water. Now, I don't mean great chunks of ship or anything. I'm talking about little bits of wood, little bits of plastic, the odd chair here or there. It was very thin. And they were steaming virtually alongside of it. It was drifting that way, and we were going that way. Another dead stop. Let's see what's happening. Let's see where it's drifting to, and then we'll probably get an idea where it's drifting from. We'd actually evidently just come in at the end of the beginning. So we started to steam very quietly through this debris, hoping to find a damaged ship at the end, or lifeboats or life rafts or whatever. Keeping our eye on the radio. We didn't want to say he didn't want to say too much because of some of the cargo was not on the manifest, shall we say. Nothing toxic, just some very good revenue. And the what would you call it? The flotsam. Well, it's not even really that, because that comes off a ship that's still afloat. This had evidently floated up from a ship that was sinking or had sunk and was sitting on the bottom. It was getting thicker. And the most horrible thing of all, there were body parts in it. Most of it wasn't complete bodies, although there was 1 or 2, all male. We couldn't touch them again because we draw too much attention to ourselves. But we kept broadcasting and broadcasting and broadcasting, and no answer at all. No answer. We saw 2 warships on the horizon, and he even tried to get bridge to bridge because they were only 15 miles away. That's usually about the horizon, depending on the size of the ship. No answer. For a day and a half they steamed up this trail, shall we say, of debris. I mean, it wasn't thick, there were bits here, bits there. And then oil. Lots of oil in the water. We didn't care too much because our ships are so filthy anyway that a little bit of oil would soon wash off. It would be hard for me to explain to you the atmosphere. You've heard of dead calm? Well, this was just dead. It was as if the ship was steaming on nothing, going nowhere. The silence, not a seagull. Even the crew were quiet. But they got to the end of the trail. And when I say trail, it wasn't like double highway. It's sometimes 5 or 6 miles across. That's why we had to go in and out and sort of zigzag a few times at dead slow. When we got to the end, or evidently where the beginning was, there was nothing there. Whatever had happened very quickly, and they hadn't had time to put out a call, even if they wanted to, and I'm a bit doubtful about that. Everybody can hit a automatic alarm, even back then. A bit more crude than they are now, but you don't need some plonker sitting at a desk banging out on a Morse key anymore. They're still there. I think I can still use one, actually, a long time ago. So there was nothing. No calls were answered. The ships on the horizon were both warships. I'll swear blind to that. And they were deaf to us and to what was going on. So I had no idea. We actually stayed on station for about 24 hours, just keeping an eye on things and making sure that nothing else major surfaced to give us a clue. And then we had to go. We were low on fuel anyway, and we had to wait to steam to get rid of our cargo. And that was that. Checked the papers, I checked the DCNs, I checked the IMF frequencies, and even their incident boards, which are online. Nothing. Not a thing. So I don't know what that ship was. It was a cargo ship, we could tell that by the bits that we picked up. All the body parts that we didn't pick up, for obvious reasons, were also men. So we didn't find anything to indicate there'd been any women on board. And when sunset came on the second day, we had to steam away. I often wonder about it. I know it's a very boring story for you. It's no great dramas at all, except if you'd been there. Terrible feeling we all had. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. And I don't know. On the back of the book that I was part of, it says that, every day of every week of every month of every year, a ship over 3,000 tons either sinks or disappears without trace. And this was just one of them. Never made the papers anywhere, of course. I think the Oscars were on at the same time. And of course a lot of ponces who get their money by dressing up and playing pretend are far more important than a few seamen, honest or otherwise, just going about their business. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where do values start and finish? Film star? What's starring about it? It's kids' play. The stars should be given to the efficient deckhands and the what would be the equivalent of leading seamen and petty officers who man ships and rely on actually getting somewhere and getting the cargo off to get paid. Oh well. I've got that in quickly because I've got to go. Oh, well, I don't have to go, but they're coming in to do things. So until the next one, have fun.